Hi friends, it's me again. It's getting close to Christmas time. I was sitting up and I was thinking about, you know, how much money I spent in my crack addiction. Now, to me as a normal person, it didn't really seem like that much money. But when I sat down, I got to think about the money I didn't have for my daughter for Christmas. And I don't have a car. I want to get a motorcycle, and I just fucked off, money. But anyway, I started out. I had a job. The first job I got a job at the probation department in Torrance, California. I got a job at the probation department. And I wasn't really used to getting high that much. And I hated that job because I had to sit behind a desk and do the work and shit. And all these pretty white women running out with their titties all hanging out. I'm looking at titties when I'm doing the work. I couldn't hit the computer. So my friend came over my house one day. He had a tie joint. Hey man, let's smoke some weed before you go to work. No man, I can't smoke no weed. I gotta go to work, man. I had smoked some weed before I went to work, and there's this white girl named Linda, man, who they had me stacking some paperwork in the back because I couldn't do the hand don't work, and she come back there and she had this little skirt on, I'm looking at her and shit. I said, hey Linda, you want to take a hit of, you want to smoke some joint? Yeah, so anyway, we went out and smoked a joint. Well, she had some rock. She wanted to put some rock in the joint. We went at lunchtime, so when she put the rock in the joint. Very first time I hit that shit, I spent $200 fucking dollars. I'm not fucking shitting y'all. I spent $200 fucking dollars. And I said, what the fuck? Now, back then I had just a little bit of control. I would say I had a little bit of control because every time I've always had a job. I could get a job because I felt like, my dad told me if you don't have a job, you're not a man and all this kind of shit. But back before I knew I'm an addict now. But before I knew I was a compulsive addict, I didn't know all of these things. But I know when I got paid, I didn't like going to the bank. Fuck that shit. Take my money and go to the bank, get these motherfuckers my money. I'll put it in my pocket. I'll be all right. I start pulling out. For one day I had $300 in my pocket. A friend of mine wanted to go over this girl's house. He wanted to sit down and and do whatever they're doing. And they had some of this rock shit, whatever. Back in the 80s, it was real rock. It wasn't that bullshit. It was real cocaine. I mean, when you took your head off that shit, you would want to go find you some panties to get in. I mean, I don't give a damn what kind of panties. It was boy panties, girl panties. You just want to get some panties, goddamn. So anyway, I keep it real. So anyway, boy panties, girl panties, pull it out. Let's do it. Anyway, so I had like 250. I remember I got a ticket. I had a ticket to pay. I said, I got to pay. I had to go to Torrance, pay this goddamn ticket. I was down there in Torrance fucking with them white girls. Anyway, I had to go pay the ticket. And the girl said, gonna take a hit? I said, well, I got $250. Bam. I was put that, if you took your head off the motherfucking cocaine, she gave me your head and all that shit. I said, damn, that was okay. But I fucked off my $250. Now, I told myself, never, ever, ever again. Oh my God, no way, no way. Would I ever do that again? No, not me. I started working for Garrett Air Research about 2 weeks later. I got a job through a little temporary agency I worked for. So I got a job at Garrett. They wanted me to work in the store. They had all these different parts they wanted me to keep up with, which I was good because I've always been good with numbers. With spelling, I can't spell. I can't even spell my own damn name. But numbers, I've always been kind of good with numbers. And they had me up in there in Garrett Air Research. And it's just the devil, man. And I was walking away. I had a little car, sports car. And I was walking out of the job one day. This girl says, hey, man, I see you coming from Compton. Do you live in, yeah, I live in Compton. Yeah, well, can you give me a ride home? Oh, man, I turned Marlise or whatever her name. She had these big fucking thighs. She would always wear these short pants. Now, I had a girlfriend at the time. I'll tell her about my girlfriend. Now, let me go back. Now, me and Robin had got a bank account together. Oh. We started loading the bank account up together. Now, the lady was just as sweet, and I was really putting the money in the bank. And one day I decided to take a hit. I took a hit off that cocaine. Next thing you know, I'm at the Pussycat Theater looking at porno movies, getting my dick sucked by whoever was sucking the motherfucker. They smoking my dick and I was smoking crack. And they said, hey man, we put you out every time you come in here, you do that shit. They put me out the Pussycat Theater for smoking crack. Yeah, I would do that every Saturday. I'll give me $50 for the crack. Well, anyway, I was with this girl. We had $5,000 in the bank. In 2 weeks, I smoked up $5,000. Oh my God, I don't feel good about that. Anyway, she came to me, she said, baby, I went to the bank and my money was kind of short. You need to tell me where my fucking money went. I came up with this great idea. I lost the card the other day and I couldn't remember the number, so I stapled the 4-digit on the back. They must have got the money out the bank. She kind of believed me, but she didn't believe me. That was $5,000. I got a job at North Electronics with my bad ass. Don't know how they put me in the tool crib. I don't know nothing about no goddamn tools. They put me in the tool crib. I knew this guy who knew my dad who got me in the job. And I was supposed to work, but anyway, I was making like $1,000 a week. Now I was staying with her. We were staying in Coast. I was staying with her. Well, she liked that dick. I mean, I was treated like that dick. I was dicking her real good. You know, she would treat. In a minute, my mother told me when I was a little boy. She said, when you give a woman some good dick, she can't even think. And I never ever forgot that. So I knew if I could put my feet. Y'all know my mother's story. I'm a dicker. I'm dicking this lady, man, and she can't see nothing. So one day, when I got paid on Friday, we were supposed to go out to this club. She wanted to go out to this club, and I had about $100. I had $1,200 in my pocket, and I had bought like $50 for the crack. And I wanted her to going out to the club, just going out to the club. She comes home, she doubles back. I done took a hit. I got my porno on. I got my thing in my hand. I'm watching my porno. She busts in the door. That's why your dick don't get hard. You're doing that shit. Could you imagine? I'm so embarrassed. I'm sitting there, pipe still smoking. Shit. This is a pipe still smoking. I ain't doing nothing. Then she goes, this fun. She lays down on the couch. She opens her legs. She's like, come on, baby, give me some. I gotta say it. When I ain't doing that shit, I got the biggest. But if I take a hit off that shit, I need to tweet. I can't find that. I don't know where it go up. Where? I can't find that motherfucker. It's so little. And she knew. But anyway, we put some more money in the bank, another $5,000 in the bank, and I fucked it off. And she told her mother. Oh my God, I feel so bad. Oh, I feel so bad. Her poor mother. Mother said, "You motherfucker. You messed up my daughter's money. You need to stay with my daughter before I put this 45 in your mouth and blow your goddamn head off." And I was like, yes, ma'am. I fucked that up. I had the most beautiful 260Z sports car because I built that motherfucker. I like to tell you I know I could have got 25, 30 grand for that car. I like to tell you I got that kind of money. I sold that motherfucker for a $40 rock. I could hear the cars zooming around the neighborhood, and I ain't got no car. I done ran out of dope. I had to call my sister to come get me. Where's your car? Luckily, that time I got it back because the person I was staying with knew the guy he called the police and the sheriff made him give me my car back. My ass went back to the same neighborhood. He wasn't there. Somebody else was there. No, that was the time. That's the time I got for this is the last time I saw the car for a $40 rock, $40 with the cocaine, like a $35,000 car, and I could hear him doing around the hood. I never saw that car again. What other car? I had a Buick Somerset Regal. I let a guy use it. I was living in Texas. I could let a guy use it for a $20 rock. Next thing I know, I see him at the gas station. The police pulling the seats out the car, everything out the car. I had about a $20,000 car. Bam, that's gone. So $35,000, $20,000 plus the two $5,000. We add them up. Norfolk. If I worked for Norfolk, I was making. Let's say I was making $900 fucking a week, and I was smoking up 700 of that shit. I couldn't see that. For some reason, thanks to the grace of God, I could maintain. For some reason, I could. They call me a function. I could function. You know, I could kind of keep a car and do some things. But I always had for some reason, I always had a nice woman with a good job, a nice lady, because I was dicking. I know how to dick, and I know how to, excuse my expression on the YouTube, I know how to suck a motherfucking pussy. So I learned at a young age. So that's what I was doing. Some women do it. I learned how to do it like a man. A gigolo. My grandmother say, you fucking gigolo. I was gigolo with that. Anyway, I'm gonna talk about the money I stole. Oh my God. My grandmother, I went in her purse. I took the money, I went to him. My grandmother was the best thing, was the best thing I've ever had, the best grandmother. And I told her, I said, Grandma, I got a drug problem. I'm so sorry for taking your money. I'm so sorry. And she said, I love you, man. I ain't worried about that money. I'm just glad you told me the truth. I fucked up for $200 man. I sold two $1,500 bass guitars. This right here, I never told nobody. Somebody in my family, I just got engaged. $10,000 ring. I got high enough sold for $50 rock. That's $24,000. Oh, that hurt. Oh, that hurt. But anyway, changes of it. That one hurt. God forgive me. God forgive me. Anyway, I was thinking about all the cigarettes I bought. They called me Cisco. I drank fucking Cisco wine by the fifth like it was fucking Kool-Aid. Wait, let me back up. I started driving a truck. And the poor people would just give me money. If I didn't have no money, I didn't have nowhere to stay. I lived in a fucking truck. Hey man, I need $200. Look, I have been all over this fucking country buying crack. They should have had me I could have been millionaire. If they'd had me for a tester, just the police would say, hey, let's have you test. I know where all the dope spots is in all the major cities in the whole fucking United States. And they got the universal language. They see me pull up in the truck, just like the nigga, this is what they do. And do that, and they already know it. I'm pulling up, I'm get your ass in the truck, I'm spinning. Okay. I worked for Best Pack Warehouse. I worked for Best Pack Warehouse for 4 years. I made $600 a week. I had nowhere to stay. Every fucking week I smoked the whole fucking. So let's do the math. We do the math. But for 3 years, $600 a week. 3 years straight, I fucked up $600. Not counting the money I was borrowing for the cigarettes and the wine and the hookers. Oh my God. I fucked around one time and went out to that fucking bunny ranch thing they had at the goddamn, I got an income tax check. Income tax check, I had $7,000. I went to the bunny ranch over there. I went and got me three big old titty white girls. Three big old titty white girls. And the white girls was smoking crack like I was. And let me tell you something, I like to say I had more fun. I didn't get no pussy. I just smoked crack. But the guy was outside the door. He didn't know about it. He smoked all outside the door. Just let me smoke like I want to smoke. And I got so high one night, I couldn't survive. And I called my sister. I said, baby, I need to come home. I can't take this shit. She called, get him home. They gave me money to get on the bus. I smoked that up. Well, another $200. Bam, another $200. Gone like a motherfucker. Up in motherfucking smooth. No wonder I ain't lost my motherfucking mind. Oh my God. So when I first got on SSI, they gave me a check for $3,700 motherfucking dollars. This is what I said. I'm gonna take a couple of hundred, I'm gonna sit it to the side. I'm gonna my mama hold this for me. Genie mother said, hold that for me. Mother said, hold that for me. I'm not gonna come get it. And goddamn me, in 2 weeks, I was knocking on everybody's door at 3 o'clock in the motherfucking morning. Give me my motherfucking money. Give me my motherfucking. I went through that money in 3 fucking weeks. Now that's not talking about the alcohol, the hookers, and the cigarettes that went with that shit. Oh my God! So we already talking about these 250 dollars. We already talking about 250 dollars. Now I got a job going cross country. That year I made 48 grand, and I smoked up, I know, 40 of it. I know I did. I know I fucked up for it. I know I did. And I would get my money, and I'd pull up in the truck stop, and the little girl would get on the mic, and the devil would just send them young, you know, I'm always a pervert. He'd send them young girls, that's I was in Oklahoma City, the girl told me they was 6. I said, baby, you 16, you too young. That motherfucker, that white girl, she pulled out there knocking and over there. I saw that hair and that thing. I said, well, how much money you need? I mean, we in it. There we go again. I fucked off another $600. I was, God, I fucked off a lot of money. God, I fucked off a lot of money. I got to the point, I'm not interested in, I used to like, cause I like Porsches, man. I know every model, every engine, the tires are going on. I'm a Porsche fanatic. And I fucked off enough to get 3 motherfucking Porsches, you know? I have a baby that's 18 years old. And pretty much I ain't done shit for her. I give her, every time I see her, I give her $100, which is once a year, once every 2 years. And I figure that's gonna be okay. That shit ain't okay. It don't feel okay. It's not okay. And I tell myself, but see, now I used to get Social Security. Now I don't get no Social Security no more. So now I got to come up with the money to pay the rent. And most of the time I make it, but I always gotta lean on my brothers. He's been coming through. I gotta lean. You know, but I think about, I've been there. When I first became homeless this time, for 3 years straight, do the math, they gave me $960-something a month. I smoked up every fucking, and you can handle what it state. I would get my check, I'd get a room, I'd get me a couple of white girls. We smoke up all the motherfucking money. I did it week after week after week after week, and I kept telling myself, this week gonna be different. Now wait a minute. Now this week I'm just gonna get 120. This week I'm just gonna get one dime. This week I'm just gonna get one little hit, and I'm not gonna never do that. I'm not gonna do that no more. And I ended up smoking the whole goddamn. I said, you know what? Let me tell you about telephones. Oh my God. Metro P says the girl down at the place, when she see me, she's so happy, he gonna buy another phone. I bought a phone for 2 years. Every fucking month I pay $100 to get the goddamn phone to and get $100 for the phone. Everything, and the next month I done sold the goddamn phone and I gotta get another phone. When she see me coming, Mr. Banks, I got one for new. Exactly. I got one. I knew you was coming. I got one for you. Oh my God, the people know me by name. I'm so embarrassed. I'm looking at fucking people. Come in there, motherfucker. But I kept telling myself, now next month you don't give me, they don't give me that. They told me to talk me, and they talked me into spending $300 on it. I said, I spend $300 on the Galaxy X5, whatever. I get the $300 Galaxy. And I know I done spent my money, but goddamn me, before the night's over, the nigga bought the 50 to 300, and he gave me a $50 rock for a $300 Galaxy. That $300 Galaxy, that motherfucker was gone. I said, I can't win for losing with this shit. But I tell you what, I ain't gonna do it no fucking more. Goddamn me, next month before the, but I got to, when the day come on the first, goddamn the money come on at 11 o'clock, I'm at the liquor store. That dude live at the liquor store. He got the bottle of brandy on the table because he know what I want. It's already up there. He know he gonna make the motherfucker save some money in the first tail, because then he gonna pull $200 out the first tail. He gonna spend some money. Dope man waiting for me on the corner around the liquor store. I'm going there, the little white girl, she knows, she like just suck on my dick. She waiting on me. They all waiting on me. This month, I'm just gonna spend just $100. I'm gonna just let me know it. Now I'm gonna show y'all this time. I'm just gonna spend $100. That's it. Y'all not gonna guess us right. I'm just gonna. Before you knew it, the 2 days later, the whole goddamn 900 gone. I did week after week after week after week after week. And then I stopped to the next week. And I did a week after week after week after week. But the thing is, I'm laughing about it now because I'm laughing about it now because it's insane. But that's that's addiction, man. This motherfucking crack. And let me tell you the funny thing about the motherfucker. When you hit the motherfucker, man, when you hit that motherfucking pipe, let me tell you something, y'all. For y'all that never did it, don't ever fuck with that motherfucking pipe. Cause that motherfucking pipe feel better than busting a nut in a 16-year-old girl. I'm telling you that shit. But after that one, you don't get nothing. And only you chasing. And you can't get it. And I take a hit. And here come the rats. I'm not scared of men. I'm terrified of rats. I don't know why. I take a hit, I get pregnant. Here come the rats. I'm looking for the rats. One time, me and a friend of mine were smoking crack, and she had this closet was into the side. And I don't know what made that little motherfucker come around the corner. He looked at me like, yeah, motherfucker, I know you're scared of me. Man, I jumped up on top of that goddamn toilet. If that woman, I never heard a woman, she said, you fucking pussy, you scared of a fucking man. I was so scared of this fucking rat, dude. My fucking leg, I couldn't move. I mean, that scared the shit out of me. Oh my God. But now where I'm standing now, it keep me from running at night because I'm paranoid. I ain't going to get no trouble. When you walk down the streets over here, you see men them goddamn rats getting around. I ain't going to. How did I get on? Anyway, I just love to sit here and talk. So we licked the money I spent. I mean, dude, I spent. God. I know I could have had a house. I could have had a black 911, and I could have had a black GT. I want a GT3 now. I want a black GT3 with custom rims on it. I wanted it sitting in my damn garage with a custom tail and the roll bar and all that shit. I could have paid cash for, what are they, 120,000? I could have paid cash for one of them motherfuckers, and could have paid cash for a house. I love Santa Monica. Santa Monica, and I like Redondo Beach and Santa Monica. Or Malibu. I could get bought a house over there and have me some little big leg white girl. We could have been kicking back, could have been going to church, and could have bought a little Mercedes. I like the commercial when the guy, he says the lady buys 2 watches and he goes on buy 2 trucks. He says, I got you a truck and me a truck. And I sit there, I cry. I'm like, damn, man, I wish I could do that. Man, I wish I could do that. Be a lady, and just give her everything, And then I met this bonehead. I met this girl. She's hot, dude. Let me tell y'all, she's hot. She's blacker than that motherfucker. She's blacker than a black police. You ever seen a black police truck? She's blacker than a police truck. But she fine. I mean, she used to tumble. That motherfucker got leg, and she the way she walked. So I met her. I take her to the house. She want to sit and watch scary movies all goddamn day. Oh, so anyway, I want to hit. I take her over there. Let me tell you how I fucked that off. I bought a motherfucking fifth of liquor. Oh my God. Took her to the beach. I accused her looking at some girl, and then we come home. She finds my crack pipe sitting on the counter with a rock. She said, oh my God, did you do that? Oh no, you people, I would have never came over. You do that? The shame, the remorse, and the guilt is undescribable. I feel this fucking low. She said, you a nice guy, man, but you do that, I don't want to be. I know what y'all do when y'all get high on that shit. You'll fuck anything. I was so hurt. I finally met a nice girl. Anyway, that's what happened. So all in all, here comes Christmas time. I didn't have 50 cents in my goddamn pocket to buy cigarettes one. I said, well, I was glad because we couldn't visit nobody on Thanksgiving because I didn't have $100 to give my family. I didn't have it. Oh my God. So that's for him. And I like to come because I like the people that come to me. I know my friends are there. What's up, y'all? I know my friends are there, and because they always see me. I just met I never get you guys' name. What's up, dude? What's up, girl? I know you're there. I mean, come say hi to me when you see me. I got more stories, but I appreciate you guys listening to me because it gives me a chance to get off of this shit And I hope the dude to get behind the camera ain't gonna tell nobody, because I sure hope nobody don't know. If y'all hear me talk about, let me tell you what I appreciate about you guys. You guys never accuse me, you never down me, you never talk about, you guys always give me praise, because I know I'm saying things that you guys want to hear, because you guys do the same thing. Yo, I'm not the only one, motherfuckers. I know y'all out there. I see you out there saying,
except a lot of people don't like you.
He's telling my story.
A lot of people.
I'm telling your story, homie. Anyway.
A lot of people come down on you because you had that relationship with a young girl.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. Everybody got skeletons in their closet. Ain't nobody in this world ain't never did nothing. It's a whole lot of shit, other shit I ain't did. I'm finna, what me and my buddy had me there, I'm finna tell it all to y'all. Because you guys, you can process that shit however you want to, but me, it showed me, I'm getting off that shit, and it's doing me some good. So
are these talks helping you?
So fuck y'all. No, y'all my friend. No. So fuck y'all. No.
Are these talks helping you?
Oh, they're helping me tremendously. Because they have me on psych meds, and I had one psych med had to take 3 times a day. And I told I don't take that shit anymore, because what I needed to tell the truth. They told me one time, you can't poke holes in the truth. God loves the truth. God don't love a lie. God loves the truth. You got to tell the truth. People, if you want to get some therapy, tell on yourself. That's the best way. Therapy, it ain't don't worry about what nobody thinking, what nobody gonna say. Tell on yourself. Put your shit out there on the plate, and let motherfuckers eat it. However they process it, oh well, you feel better. But that, I'm out.
Yeah, actually, I had one day where I had to cross-examine an FBI agent, and I had such great impeachment for this guy. He had lied like 3 or 4 times on his affidavits, was saying something completely different in court, and I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to kick some FBI ass. And it was 4:00 in the afternoon when it was my turn to cross-examine him, and the entire jury was falling asleep. So I just got up there and I projected. I used all of my acting training and woke them up. It was like going to be my moment, and they were all asleep.
So you and I met because I had interviewed Matthew Boyer.
Correct.
And his wife separately, who have been in the news recently because of his big case with the Ohtani scandal.
Correct.
Ohtani, the pitcher for the Dodgers.
Yes.
And he is doing time.
Yes.
He got his sentence, and he's doing how much? A year and a day?
He was sentenced to a year and a day, which means he'll get good time credits for the year that he's serving. He won't just have to do a straight year. I
told him it would benefit him if he actually did a lot of time and did some hard time, because that makes his case sound more severe.
I was at his 50th birthday party, and one of his friends, who's this very straight-laced broker, stockbroker, and he's usually very serious, and he's all very buttoned up. And he came up to me and he said, so if the judge sentences him to home confinement, can you ask him to give him 6 months, because it would be better for his brand?
Right. That's what I think the harder his sentence, the better his story.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet?
So I was introduced to Matthew Boyer through a mutual friend named Christopher Glue, who's a marijuana lawyer, and Chris doesn't do any federal work. So he called me up and he said, my pal Matthew Boyer has been raided by the feds, and can you come over and meet him? So we went over to his house that Saturday afternoon. I met him and Nicole and his son and his father-in-law, and we sat at the kitchen counter, and he told me what was going on. He said he'd been raided by the FBI, IRS, and Homeland Security, that they had seized a bunch of money, chips, Nicole's purses, which I was personally very upset about. And I really, at that point in time, did not know anything about bookmaking, about illegal bookmaking, or how it worked. Chris kind of filled me in a little bit because he's known Matt. They do jujitsu together and they've pals. I wouldn't be surprised if Chris was one of Matt's clients. And so it was a very new world to me. I really didn't understand how any of it worked. But he hired me, and that was how it started. That was how I met him. So I called the U.S. Attorney's Office, let them know that I was representing them. When somebody is raided by the feds, it is always wise to reach out to the U.S. Attorney's Office so that you're not just sitting there waiting for the shoe to drop. You're not waiting for, Damocles' sword. You know that you have a little bit of control over what happens next. And I did know that they wanted Matt to cooperate, which means they wanted him to give them information about other parties and assist in the prosecution of these other individuals, entities. You can read between the lines. I'm not really supposed to talk about it because the investigation is ongoing. And that is actually why Matt's sentence was supposed to be delayed again and again, and he just wanted to get it over with, so he was sentenced at the end of August. And he said, look, if I have to do time, it's fine. I just need to get back to my life. But so I reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and what that does is that it prevents him from actually being arrested. So as he was raided and all of these agents descended on his house, what would happen in an arrest is the same thing. They would come out guns blazing, 30 or 40 guys, marshals, agents, and they would arrest him and take him into custody, and then he'd have to wait in custody until his initial court appearance, where we would try to agree to get him out on bond. And bond in federal court is very different. They don't use bail bondsmen, so you have to either have somebody who's going to sign for you like a surety, or you have to say, I have $100,000 in equity in my home, I'm really willing to post my home. Those are the different possibilities, or cash, if somebody wanted to deposit cash with the court, which they would get back at the end of the day. But these are things that we propose to the court, and then the court decides if they are going to accept our proposal along with conditions. Sometimes it's an ankle monitor. Certainly for Matt, it was no gambling, no bookmaking, and pay your taxes, things like that. So we avoid arrest when we are proactive, and then we also get an agreement. Like, yeah, he can come in on a summons, and then we'll agree to a bond, and he can leave that afternoon. So it's a much less stressful situation for somebody like Matt.
Soft White Underbelly is about giving people a space to tell their stories, even when these stories challenge what we think we know. Ground News shows us different perspectives in the media, which is why Ground News is a perfect sponsor for my channel. In a world where algorithms censor much of the information we receive, some of the most important stories get missed from our news feeds. Ground News highlights local news from around the world, giving you an on-the-ground perspective that national coverage might miss. The app and website empowers you to form your own opinions by presenting you with every article published on any news story worldwide. My favorite part of the app is the data it gives you on each news source as you read it, such as where it leans on the political spectrum, a factuality rating indicating how subjective their printed reporting tends to be, and who funds it. I particularly like their blind spot feed, dedicated to showing you news stories that are underrepresented in the mainstream media. You can check this all out by scanning the QR code on screen or clicking the link below. It's easy to forget how much bias can shape the reality we live in. And in a world where our attention is constantly being fought over, my Vantage Plan easily helps me keep up with more important stories slipping through the cracks. So I encourage you to check them out at ground.news/SWU. Subscribe through my link or download the mobile app and enter promo code SWU to save 40% off their Vantage Plan. And by subscribing or even gifting it to someone you know, you're helping hold the media accountable and helping my channel directly. Thank you for watching.
So Matt said, I want to cooperate, but I'm not going to talk about myself, and I'm not going to talk about anyone in my organization, because he had some agents and sub-agents that he worked with, people that would basically bring him clients. And I said, that is never going to happen. I've been doing this almost 30 years, and they will only work with people who are willing to admit what they did, because otherwise you're not a credible witness. If you're not willing to get on the stand and say, yes, I did what I did, I'm guilty of this, that, and the other thing, then you're useless as a witness. And if they make any promises to you up front, like say, you're going to get home confinement if you cooperate, then the defense attorney for those people is going to be able to rip you apart, because they're going to say, well, you were promised no jail time in lieu of 18 years in prison, so obviously you're going to say anything that they want you to say. And so they don't make any promises. You don't know what your sentence is going to be until basically 2 weeks before you're sentenced. And you have to be willing to tell them everything. So when Matt said, I'm not talking about myself, I'm not talking about anybody in my world, I said, that's never going to happen, but I'll ask. And I called the U.S. attorney, and she said, okay. And I was stunned. So Matt and Chris and I went up to the Homeland Security office in Long Beach, I believe it was, because the 10 was closed. I don't know if you remember when that happened. And we spent about 3 hours and he answered all their questions. The one question that he had to answer about himself was, are you an illegal bookmaker or were you? And he said yes. He was joking with them when they raided the house. And they said, are you a bookie? And he said no. And so they were going to charge him with lying to a federal agent. And he was clearly just joking around with them. Obviously, everyone knew that he was a bookie. So after that conversation, it was, he hired me in October. We met with the feds in November. And then in January, I got a call, or he actually got a certified letter from Tisha Thompson from ESPN saying, I'm writing a story about Shohei Ohtani as your client. And so apparently, I just learned this a couple weeks ago, Chris and Matt invited Tisha to Matt's house. And she told them everything she knew. And then they were going to either confirm or deny whatever information she had. So what I thought had happened was that Chris had a conversation with Tisha. I had no idea they went to Matt's house behind my back. But anyway, Matt thought I was going to be madder than I was. And but Tisha knew everything. She knew dollar amounts. She knew names of people. She knew who was receiving wires for Matt from Shohei Ohtani. She really knew a lot. So at that point, we did a three-way call. Chris, Tisha, me, and Matt. We had Matt just keep his mouth shut unless I asked him to jump in. And when she said, is Shohei Ohtani your client? He said no. And he said the only person that he'd ever dealt with was Mitsuhara. But he was getting $500,000 wires from Shohei Ohtani's account. It was actually being sent to his friend. And when he saw that, he thought, maybe Shohei Ohtani is my client. But he had met Mitsuhara at a poker game in San Diego. He was introduced to him by, I guess, a former baseball player named David Fletcher. And it was like after an Angels game or something. They were playing poker. And so Mitsuhara started betting with Matt. Started small, and over about a year and a half, the bets got larger and larger and larger. And he ended up placing 19,000 bets with Matt over a year and a half. And the bets went from $50 to $100 to $1,000 to $250,000. And I don't remember what the highest number was, but they were pretty big. And so Matt started getting these wires from Shohei Ohtani. And the money laundering aspect of it, which is a concept that most people don't understand, it's hard sometimes for lawyers to grasp. But basically, anytime you take ill-gotten gains and move them, if it's more than $10,000, that's money laundering. Essentially, spending it is money laundering. They can make anything into money laundering. This was actually what you would imagine, which was the money was going to his friend and then from his friend to the casino. Then Matt and his friends would go to the casino, they would get credit, and they would gamble. And they were gambling huge numbers, millions and millions of dollars. I think one night Matt lost $4 million. So he was what they call a whale in the gambling industry. And he was being given all the perks, penthouses, jets, private jets to amazing sporting events. He played golf with famous people that I don't even know. But so this was next level, but the money was going from Shohei Ohtani's account to his friend's account to the casino. And so Matt just thought, great. And he kept extending credit to Mitsuhara because he was getting these wires every 2 weeks and was bragging about it, of course, because that's marketing, right? You say, oh, Shohei Ohtani is my client. And so more and more people were respecting him. But he was already, according to him, one of the top 5 bookies in the country. And apparently everyone in Las Vegas knew he was a bookie, and he would be running his business right on the phone in the casino, to the point where the pit boss or the dealers would say to him, can you maybe take that into the bathroom? Like, don't do it right under our noses. And so let me go back to the Tisha Thompson story. So she wanted to know if Shohei Ohtani was his client. And at that point, he said no. I'd never met Shohei Ohtani, spoke to him, texted him, no dealings except for the wires. And she knew about the $500,000 wires. She knew who they were going to. And so after about an hour and a half of answering questions, yes or no, occasionally letting Matt talk, she said, all right, I'm going to have to go back and do more journalism because this is a different story than what I understood it to be. But just so you know, the feds are going to leak this story to the LA Times. So that was really interesting. And sure enough, 3 months later in March, I got a call from a reporter from the LA Times saying, we're writing a story about your client, Matthew Boyer, and that Shohei Ohtani was his client. And I said, Shohei Ohtani was not my client's client. And he goes, well, then why are no, he said, why is the FBI so certain that he is? And I said, well, you're going to have to ask the FBI that question. And by the way, you just revealed your source. And he goes, no, I didn't. And I'm like, yeah, you did, dude. But anyway, so for the next 5 days, actually, let me back up a second. So after I got the call from the guy from the LA Times, I immediately called Tisha Thompson because she had so much integrity by not writing the story saying that Shohei Ohtani was Matt's client when we said he wasn't. So I really respected her for that. So I immediately called her and I said, guess what? You were right. The feds leaked the story to the LA Times and they're ready to run with it. She said, okay, great. Thank you for letting me know. And then she immediately got in touch with Mitsuhara and apparently interviewed him for like an hour and a half. And the first story that he told her was that I think Ohtani had loaned him the money for his gambling. But the big issue is, of course, baseball players are not allowed to gamble, especially on baseball.
Is that really the case?
Yes.
Is that why this is such a big case?
Yes.
They're suspicious that Ohtani was betting on sports?
Yes. So like Pete Rose was fired from baseball, and Ohtani would have been fired certainly from the Dodgers. And of course, MLB didn't want that.
But he's continuing to play.
He's continuing to be one of the most famous players in the world.
Yeah.
According to everybody else.
Yes.
So it was going to be a really, really big deal. So when the LA Times guy said, I'm writing this story, and I said, no, he wasn't his client. He goes, well, we're going to write it anyway. I said, really, seriously, you are the LA Times, and you're going to ruin the Dodgers' greatest player ever over a story that we can't confirm as the actual source of information? And so that's when the conversation started. For the next 5 days, Tisha and this guy from the LA Times, who I don't even remember his name, he was a jerk, were constantly calling me, asking me questions. And then about 5 days later, Tisha texted me an article at 8 o'clock in the morning. And it was the LA Times story saying that Mitsuhara had stolen the $17 million from Ohtani. And then like minutes later, I think it was, that Tisha Thompson issued her story, which was much more thorough. It was much more thoroughly researched. She had much more information. I had given her more information, but she already knew a lot more. And she named names. She named Matt's friend who was taking the wires. And then she went on whatever that ESPN news thing is that she does, sports channel or something like that. You can tell I'm not a sports person. She explained how she had interviewed Mitsuhara and that he had said that he had gotten the money from Ohtani, that Ohtani loaned him the money. And then suddenly, I guess, agents got involved, MLB got involved, and then the next day the story was that Mitsuhara stole the money from Shohei Ohtani. What's interesting is that a few weeks later, they were in Korea at the time in spring training. And I don't know how much time passed, but a couple of weeks later, Mitsuhara actually called me because he asked Matt for a referral for a criminal defense attorney because he knew he was in trouble. And Matt gave him my number, of course. And I said, I can't represent you. But my first just knee-jerk response when he called me was, you came back? Because he'd been in Korea. He knew he was going to be indicted and then deported after he served a sentence. He said, oh, I shouldn't have come back. And I said, well, if your family is here, obviously you had to do the right thing. And I said, I'm sorry that you've lost your best friend. And he said, this was all me. I did it. And he didn't say those words, but he said, I did this to myself. And I just said, look, I can't talk to you. I can't represent you. And I referred him to a friend. My friend spent about 3 hours with him, and he believed that he actually did steal the money. He unfortunately did not hire my friend, which I think he should have. But at the end of the day, he was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison, which given the amount, which we refer to as the amount of loss in federal court, 5 years was a very gentle sentence for him. I think that they probably took into consideration the fact that he's going to be deported at the end of it, but honestly, I don't know. I wasn't part of those conversations. I do know it was the same U.S. attorney that was on our case. So in the interim, after Tisha Thompson called, Matt had a cooperation agreement with the feds, with the government. So I immediately called the U.S. attorney. I said, we need to come see you right now. So we all changed our schedules. We drove up to LA and we sat down with 2 of the U.S. attorneys, an FBI agent, and I think a Homeland Security agent. I don't think the IRS agent. He was the lead. The IRS agent, Chris Seymour, was the lead agent on the entire case because the tax charges were kind of the driving force. And we told them, look, Tisha Thompson called us, this story is coming out, and they could not have cared less. They were like, yeah, let's talk about this other thing that we've been talking about. And I said, no, this is not open cooperation. This is the only reason we came up here. And the U.S. attorney was like, oh, have you been to that new barbecue place in San Juan Capistrano? Like, he could not have cared less. So we walked out of there kind of confused. Then the story came out, and they were interested. And I have never seen somebody actually get indicted by the grand jury that quickly. It took them 2 or 3 weeks before he was indicted. So in that time period, they had seized all of Matt's electronics, and his website where people bet was on his computer. And I think that, I don't know if he had to give them his password, but they had the password, so they were able to get all of the information, and the forensics teams were dealing with all the information on the website. But they asked us, can you get us a spreadsheet of Mitsuhara's bets? And it was much easier for Matt to call the server of the website, which was based in Costa Rica, and say, hey, I need this ID number. I need all the bets, because everybody bets with an ID number, not a name. And again, he didn't know for sure if maybe Otani was using Mitsuhara's ID number. The only way he knew that it wasn't Otani was because he'd be watching the Angels at the time, and Mitsuhara would be playing, and he'd see on his website that bets were being placed under that ID number. So he knew that it wasn't Otani. And so we gave him, the government, a 268-page spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet. You can imagine how much information was on that, of all of Mitsuhara's bets. Then they also asked Matt what the time zone was, where the website was, so they could see the times of day that the bets were being placed, obviously, to make sure it wasn't Otani. And they asked him a few more questions, and that was pretty much it. Within a couple of weeks, he was indicted. And so Matt was given cooperation for that credit. And then while we were talking to them about that, I guess they brought up David Fletcher. And we said, oh, yeah, and by the way, so-and-so is David Fletcher's bookie. And they were like, oh, that's very interesting. So Matt also got credit for that information. But I know Matt was really upset because that friend was up in arms about the fact that Matt named him. They had his cell phones. They had all of his text messages. They had all of his whatever apps he used to talk to people. And they had his bets, his bank accounts, everything, because the feds get everything. And so they knew. So for him to confirm something was really not a big deal as far as ratting somebody out, because I know Matt was really, really sensitive about that.
Interesting. So it looks like Otani might be okay?
I think so. And I mean, I saw the press conference. I believed him. He seemed sincere. He seemed really heartbroken. I think he played really badly that night. He lost his best friend and confidant. But Otani's fine. He will be fine.
Yeah. So what made you want to become a defense attorney?
So it was kind of a windy road to get here. I started out life as a ballerina. I had studied ballet starting when I was 8 years old. I grew up in a small town in Long Island, but I had the great good fortune of having an amazing woman who was from the original Ballet Russe, who had this little ballet studio in our town. And so I studied, and I would go into New York City on the weekends and take classes with, professional dancers. And that was all I ever wanted to do, was dance. But somewhere in the back of my mind, knowing how absolutely competitive ballet world is, and I was never anorexic, and I was a little short to be a dancer, it was always in the back of my mind, if I can't dance, I'll go to law school, which was more of, if I can't do what I love, I'll make a living, kind of a practical solution. And I had no idea what it meant to be a lawyer. My grandfather was a lawyer, but he died when I was 8 years old. So honestly, I just no idea what that meant. I just knew that was a practical thing to do. And so after my first year of college as a ballet major, I was injured. And so I transferred to UC Irvine and was a drama major. I was like, well, what else do I want to do? I was looking through the course catalog, and I'd always been in plays my whole life, and I sing. So I thought, oh, I'll just do that. That'll be fun. And it was the best 3 years. It was absolutely incredible. I learned, I read all of the classics. I read a lot of Shakespeare, and I met the most amazing people. And it was an incredible experience. And then as I was about to graduate, I had a theatrical manager say to me, pretty faces a dime a dozen in LA. If you sing and dance, you should go to New York. So I put my tail between my legs and I went back to New York. I had no idea how to even start to pursue a career. Of course, I got a job as a waitress, which is what you do. And I spent 4 years in New York City waitressing, teaching exercise, going to dance classes, voice classes, acting classes, and auditions, sleeping maybe 3 hours a night because I would waitress at night, teach exercise at 7 in the morning. I was on the subways at 6 in the morning and, counting rats while I was waiting for the trains. It was very not glamorous. And after 4 years and 4 days of extra work, I walked out of ABC Studios where I'd done extra work on all my children. And I just looked up at the marquee and I said, this is not what I have spent my life studying for. I studied ballet for years and years with some of the greatest teachers in the world. And I have a degree in drama. And I just, at that point, was tired of scraping literal coins together to pay my rent. And I was living with a musician who ended up actually being the lead singer for Tower of Power. He was an R&B singer. If you didn't see him, you would think he was Black. He has this incredible soul voice. He's a white boy from Massachusetts. And I came home to see my mom, came back to California to visit my mom, and she literally dragged me kicking and screaming into the Swallows, which is the famous saloon in San Juan Capistrano where the Swallows return. And there was a country band playing, and this guy and I locked eyes, and that was it. I moved back to California, and he talked me into going to law school. And again, I just had no idea what I was getting myself into. Just like with Matt's case, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had no idea this was going to blow up and be this huge media story. I just thought I was representing some bookie guy. And with law, I had no idea what I wanted to do with it or how I was going to use it. And got into law school kind of last minute, moved up to LA, and it was 3 of the most brutal years of my life, complete opposite of my undergrad degree. I studied 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and studying for the bar was pure hell. Taking the bar exam, they have ambulances outside in case people have panic attacks because it is so stressful. Like, you don't drink water because you don't want to take 5 seconds to go to the bathroom because you only have a limited amount of time. It was the most stressful experience. And, just really not how my brain is used to working. I'm much more of a creative person. And actually, my second year of law school, I went to Lake Arrowhead with my friend Emma, who was kind of my support system throughout law school. And I just sat there and cried because I was like, what have I gotten myself into? I had borrowed so much money and I hated it. But I graduated with honors and got a job, believe it or not, with an aviation litigation firm in downtown LA. Could not have been more boring. It was absolutely hell. And I was sitting on the 36th floor of a skyscraper in downtown LA thinking, oh my God, what have I done? The Talking Heads song was my anthem. And so I quit after 2 years, rented a little guest cottage in Laguna Beach from this beautiful family, and did some appearances. I went to massage school, and I spent 6 hours a day sitting on the beach, and I read books, and I tried to figure out what to do with my life. And it was so interesting because during that time period, 2 different people, one was a public defender and one was a DA, and they both said to me at different times in completely separate settings, I really think you would enjoy being a public defender. So I went to see a lawyer that I know, and he goes, so what are you doing these days? And I said, I'm thinking of maybe applying to the public defender's office. And he picked up the phone, and I had an interview the next day, and I got the job. So I spent 2 years working in the public defender's office, and it was baptism by fire. I did 24 trials in 24 months. I knew nothing about criminal defense, but this was home. This was where I finally found my purpose, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it because I was in court all the time, and I was helping people, and I was interacting with people, and talk about drama. That is real drama. And it was just incredible. And also, talk about the soft white underbelly or just the underbelly of society. I had never been exposed to this before. And I was meeting gangbangers and I was meeting addicts and I was meeting just people that I never would have met any other way. And I found this work just so incredibly rewarding. And after 2 years at the PD's office, I went into private practice and was appointed to the federal panel where I get appointed cases from federal court. So I learned all about federal cases. And there I got to work on cases I never would have worked on as a private attorney, like MS-13, huge Mexican mafia gang cases involving murder and drugs. And I was actually represented an Aryan Brotherhood guy. For a short period of time, I was backup counsel. And this is actually one of my best stories. I went to see him. He was on death row because they were facing a death penalty. There's a detention center in downtown LA called MDCLA, Metropolitan Detention Center. And they have the 8th floor is reserved for people facing death sentences. And so it's much more high security. So you go through all of the security stuff downstairs. You lock your stuff up in the locker. And then I went up to the 8th floor for the first time. And then there's even more. You have to show your ID again. You have to leave anything with the agents or the officers that are sitting outside. And there is a glass window where they can see you. I couldn't see them. So they bring me into this room, which is just this room with a table and chairs. And then they go and get my client out of his cell. And I see him through the window come shuffling down the hall in his shackles with his handcuffs, and he's pushing a cart that has a computer on it. And he gets in the room and he kneels down. They take off his cuffs. He comes in. He's got long blonde hair or gray hair, a big beard. And he comes in, just looks at me, doesn't say anything, pushes his computer around the table and behind me to plug it in. And I'm wearing actually pumps like I'm wearing today. And he goes back and sits down. And the first thing he said to me was, "You could kill someone with those shoes." And I just went, note to self, no longer wearing high heels to jail to visit people. But it was the only time, I think, there was maybe one other time in my career where I was scared. And I've met what most people would think are really scary people, like people, with gang tattoos on their faces. I was fine with them. Some of them were really nice guys. In fact, I have one guy that's still calling me years and years and years later. His mom and his daughter call me. But this guy scared me. And yeah, that was my Aryan Brotherhood case. So I was able to work on cases that I never would have been able to work on as a private practitioner because people don't necessarily have the funds to hire a private lawyer. But after a while, it became a bit of a crutch, and I was really relying on the court. And then there were a lot of other issues involved that I won't get into. But so I've been just doing exclusively private work for now about 12, 15 years. I don't even know how long it's been. But I get to meet really incredible people, and every day is different. Every case is different. And I get to really go to bat for these people. And the thing I pride myself the most on is that I really get to know who they are. And I understand why they did what they did, because I will tell you that crime does not happen in a vacuum and that people don't do terrible things for no reason. I will say that the majority of my clients have had the most traumatic upbringings. I've heard stories of people who have, this one guy told me that he saw his father punch his mother and rape her. I think it might have been the same guy or maybe another guy who said that his parents were heroin addicts. His mom walked up to his dad and shot him. The bullet grazed his skull, and the kid was standing right there. I think he was like 12 years old or younger. And his dad just looked at him and said, "Don't worry, son, that bitch can't kill me. I'm the devil." No wonder people become drug addicts, and no wonder people get into situations. I mean, I always say to judges, but for the grace of God, go you and I. Because most people do not have the privileges that the rest of us have. They do not have parents who will feed them and support them. And our clients that are from Mexico, we learn to ask questions like, did you have a floor or was it dirt? Did you have running water? Did you have to go get water from the stream? Things that we so take for granted, things that we don't even think about when we turn on a light switch. So many people have not had those advantages, or people that are immigrants that come here and they are jammed into a room, 8 kids sharing 2 mattresses. and living on very little food, and their parents are gone working all day, every day. So of course they become involved in gangs because they want to fit in, they want to belong, they want to be somebody. And so it's been so eye-opening and so interesting to understand why people do the things they do and why they are who they are. And at their core, they're really good people and they mean well. They've just not had a chance. They've just not had a chance. And I see this over and over and over again. What's interesting is that I would say the more difficult clients are the white-collar clients who have education and they are professionals and they can't admit to themselves that they've committed a crime. They'll admit to the elements. They'll say, yes, I did this, that, and the other thing. But, I was going to give the money back, or, with the COVID funds that people were getting, and people would lie on their applications and then invest the money. Oh, but I was going to give the money back. But you still got $3 million that people that really needed it didn't get. And you lied to get it. Yeah, but I'm not a criminal. And it's just so interesting to me, the mindset. Like, well, I agree you're not a criminal, but you committed a crime. Who you are isn't a criminal at your core. But you screwed up, dude, And so that's just so interesting to me, because the people that are, bank robbers are going to say, I did it. I just want to get a deal. Just get me sentenced. And then it's my job to get them the most reasonable sentence I can under all of the circumstances, taking into consideration who they are as a person and what they've been through and why they committed the crime that they committed, not just this is what I did and that's it. And so, bam, here's your sentence. So there's just so much more to it. People always ask, how do you defend guilty people? 99% of my clients are guilty, and they will tell me that they're guilty. It's my job to walk them through the system because it's terrifying. And this is what I do. I hold their hand through the process. I try to make it as comfortable, if that's possible, as possible. Explain everything to them, explain everything to their families, and then convince the prosecution, whether it's the DA, the Attorney General, or the U.S. Attorney's Office, that this person does not deserve to just be thrown into a prison cell or warehoused, because we imprison so many people in this country. Way too many people spend time just wasting away in prison. And it just doesn't serve society. It doesn't serve them. It doesn't serve anyone. So that's why I do what I do.
And you enjoy it.
I love it.
Clearly. Do you feel like it was just dumb luck that you ended up a criminal defense attorney instead of a ballerina or
100%.
Or whatever you might have done?
100%. I had actually applied to the DA's office when I was in law school and after I got out of law school. And I didn't get the job. I missed the hiring by like one person. And I ran into that guy who had been the hiring attorney at the DA's office years and years later. And I said, I just want to tell you that I appreciate you so much for not hiring me those 2 times, because, I just didn't know. I didn't understand. I thought, oh, you want to put away the bad guys. You want to put away the drug dealers. But at the end of the day, I think that defense attorneys are the ones that wear the white hats. We're the ones that ride the white horses and fight the good fight, because we have a Constitution that has to be upheld. We have the 4th and 14th Amendment rights, 5th Amendment, you have a right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. And what's happening right now with ICE is insane. I actually represented a young woman who was a U.S. citizen, a Hispanic woman. She had just been dropped off for work in downtown L.A., and 4 or 5 SUVs pulled up, guys in plain clothes with masks. They were wearing vests. And everyone started to run. She had no idea what was happening, and she just stood there. And they threw her to the ground. She had bruises all over her back. She held up her tote bag, whatever she was carrying, to work. And they grabbed her and arrested her. And they were speaking to her in Spanish, and she was saying, I speak English. I'm a citizen. And they didn't believe her. They actually pepper sprayed the guy that was with her, because they punched him and pepper sprayed him. And there are videos of him on social media where he's convulsing, and he had to ended up going to the hospital once they were arrested. But they were arrested. They were taken to MDC, the same facility. And she was kept there actually for 2 nights. Usually it's 1 night. These ICE agents who arrested her posed for a photo with her, like a look who we got kind of a photo, just absolute gangbanger mentality. And she spent 2 nights in jail and was released on bond the next day. So she was 2 nights in jail, released on bond the next day. And the complaint, the charging document, She was charged with assaulting a federal agent. The allegation was that she raised her arm and hit the agent in the face with her arm. She's 4'11", and this agent was a gorilla. There is no way it was physically possible for her to have hit him. So I asked the U.S. attorney. The complaint said that this was based on body-worn camera footage, which of course